Hail and well met, friends. And Dang here for another episode of Update Talks. This time we're doing the Riders of Rohan review. And joining me are several awesome co-hosts. We have Merrick,
Good evening.
Pineleaf,
Greetings.
Bandris from Middle Earth News,
Hello.
Ladies.
Hello, ladies.
and Sig from moreseeds.com.
Howdy.
All right. So first of all, I think I'm gonna ask Sig a couple questions. So what got you to start warsteeds.com? What about Warsteeds was just so exciting that it made you create a whole website?
Well, I don't know. It was maybe the middle of May 2007 or so. The game had been out for, a month and a half, and I wanted mounted combat. I've been waiting for it that long. And when the expansion got pushed back, I was sitting around kind of browsing some of the different blogs about LOTRO on the internet, and I was looking at it was actually Cosmetic LOTRO that I was looking at, and I was like, there needs to be a site like this for Warsteeds, and it just kind of branched out from there.
All right, awesome. So we'll move on to talking about Warsteeds as our first topic. So first of all, I'd like to know what weight of the Warsteed do you use? So do you use light, medium, or heavy?
Well, I've actually got the steed on both a hunter and a guardian now, and I'm actually using the heavy steed on both.
All right. Is anybody else using a different steed, and why?
I run a light on my burglar, and I have a guardian on a different server that I run a heavy on, and I much prefer the light.
Why do you think that is?
Maneuverability. Just with the heavy, I feel like I'm just plodding along, and it's also a guardian, so combat goes slower anyway. But trample is a highly entertaining skill, and if you can train wreck over somebody 2 or 3 times with trample, it makes me giggle.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Well, I'm using
That
mediums.
is a fun one.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people speak ill of the medium, that it's not quite as good as the heavy, and it's not quite as good as the light.
Well, that's because they're looking for an extreme.
Which is true.
Fair enough, yeah.
I myself have been using the medium on my champion as well. I really haven't played around with the other ones, but I'm kind of like Pineleaf. I really like just the in-between. I feel like I've got pretty good maneuverability on my medium. If you learn, I mean, I'm not trying to be like if you learn how to play, but if you learn, I mean, your own technique on how to maneuver it and how to accelerate and decelerate quickly. And I mean, it may be a little bit more effort, but I think it's such a good middle of the road. I mean, I don't get knocked off. I feel like I can outrun pretty much anything I want to, and my damage is pretty decent. So I mean, no complaints.
Yeah. Anyway, if I really want to outrun something, I use dash in order to boost up to 16, and that's capped no matter what you're using.
Well, see,
Right.
I actually have a tactic that involves me intentionally getting knocked off my horse. I will actually take my light, charge in, do a couple rounds, and as soon as my steed drops, as a burglar, all my mezzes open up. And by then, usually somebody's been dismounted or lost their horse. And I can start crowd control, and then my buddies can just make passes.
All right. I use light just because of the quickness of combat.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like it goes a lot quicker and feels more like what I think mounted combat would probably be like. So. All right, and so do you guys like the skill tree system, or do you wish it was different, or is there anything you find kind of weird about it, or anything like that?
The only thing that I find kind of weird about it is the fact that you can trait almost everything in there.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It almost makes it superfluous to have different.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem I've found. It was even worse on the beta, but especially even on live.
But on the flip side, one of the beautiful things of it is you can trade on the fly. You don't have to go to like a stable master or somebody and undo your trades and redo your trades. You can just do it right on the fly. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that when they were doing this, they didn't actively look at character traits and, make a push to do them almost similarly as far as the design. I find the design much more superior than it is to at least being able to refund your points and all these different trait specs and everything else. It's just almost, it's fantastic, and I wish that they would push that.
The weirdest thing for me was the fact that the bridle is still the old LI system.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was really weird for me. And finally, if you said you messed around with the bridle a little bit, and I'm sure Sig did too. So if you guys want to start talking a little bit about what that is and the use of it and all that stuff.
All right, the bridle is a new legendary item, as you said, the same type of system we've been using for legendaries for a while. And there are 3 types of bridles, one corresponding to each type of mount. Now what's interesting here is you can use any bridle on any type of mount. The limitation is that the majors are associated with the type of mount associated with it. So a heavy bridle has majors that are associated with heavy war steeds.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you could mix and match bridles like that.
Yes. Well, once you have a heavy bridle, if you are heavily invested into major legacies, then obviously you want to make sure you match the bridle properly.
Oh, yeah.
But if all you use are the minors and the fury rating, it doesn't care what type of bridle you've got. It'll work equally on any mount.
That's kind of nice for situational swapping.
That is. That's really cool.
Yes, if you swap a lot, then I recommend emphasizing the minors. And the minors, I think, are pretty good on the most part. The biggest problem with them is that there are so many minors that getting the ones you want is sometimes tough.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, the problem that I've run into is the legendary system just in itself is nothing like what I want it to be. And so I don't put a whole lot into it, and I'm running with a matched bridle that actually, kind of suits my needs pretty well, but it just kind of happened. I didn't work for it.
Okay.
I haven't done enough mounted combat and used my skills enough to quite get exactly what everything is going to grant me. I'm such a casual player that I'm like, okay, this looks good, whatever. I just want pretty outfits and pretty horses.
Ah.
All right, and then did you break your class stereotype with your war steeds? So, for example, did you have like a champion healing or a mini tanking or something like that, or did you pretty much stick with what your class is known for?
I've stuck with, I've really been putting an emphasis on my hunter lately, and I stuck with the DPS, but I am taking a different route with him, where, as most hunters, I think probably I'm one of maybe a handful of hunters that's using a heavy steed.
You're the only hunter I've heard using it.
Yeah, and there's a couple reasons for that. First is, like you'd mentioned earlier, the trample skill. That thing, I just, there's no end to the amusement with it.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're doing the cow warband and you just ride through the cows.
Yeah, Fearhorn, and then the guy with all the crows.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go bowling and send everything flying. So that's one benefit to that. But then I've also found that since you can trait 2 whole lines and most of the third line, once you've got about half of the yellow line spec'd in your traits, and then if you get agility up at the top of the trait trees, and then you put a little bit of agility into your bridle, my heavy steed his turn rate is not. I cannot see any difference, between that and the light that I had started with. So I'm basically running at, like 1 meter per second slower than what I was getting with the light steed, but that doesn't make a big difference for me, and I've found that the heavy steed just kind of works. So I'm sticking with it.
I guess it's me as a cosmetic player. I just can't do the Hobbit on a heavy. He looks like he's like his legs are just so like, oh, this is gonna hurt. I'm a boy. I just no. I mean, a friend of mine and they got on their heavy war steed. A Hobbit can stand under it and not touch the top.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Well, there's certain angles with the heavy steeds that they just look comically huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, and do you guys still have issues controlling your war steed, or have you guys gotten used to it?
I've gotten pretty used to it. I think I was one of the bigger ones at the very beginning where like, I don't like this at all. This is just not good. They've made a huge mistake. They need to redesign everything, and now I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. And in fact, I got on I was doing that one quest in Ethengils where you get on a normal steed and you ride. Well, I guess spoiler. You ride to a rock, and I'm like, and I started up, and I'm like, I just moved forward once. I'm like, why isn't it going?
Or when you go back on a lower level character and you're like, I'm on a 68 horse, and you're like, oh, I'm walking. I'm just totally so slow.
Yeah, I played on the beta for about 50 hours straight.
Wow.
And came back to the live server, and it was the hardest thing I think I've ever done on trying to control my normal speed.
Mm-hmm. I think the control system is really good. It just takes a little more effort to learn, but you get so much more out of it.
Right.
That's a good way to put it. That's an excellent way to put it.
Yeah, and they did kind of try to map it to where, you had the change to make the normal steed be a little bit more like a war steed. I don't remember if they changed that back or not.
Well, they're talking. I heard in the next update we're going to see open tapping go everywhere, and I could see steed controls being similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't mention the steed control specifically, but I don't know if they'll do it or not. It kind of seems like they, with the mounted systems, they're kind of like, these are. I don't know if they're exactly the same or not, but it would be interesting to see what kind of response that they would get. It would also make it a lot easier to transition to war steeds.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Which is pretty huge. I mean, because it is a little bit of a learning curve. And I still think that when you get on that horse initially, you're like, what the what? What's going on here?
Do you know how many times it took me to hit that stupid training dummy because I thought I had to be decent when I made my swing? Oh,
tell me about it.
Much worse on the beta, just saying.
It was horrible on the beta.
It was a nightmare on the beta.
I intentionally avoided the beta. I intentionally avoided the beta. I got invited. I didn't want to do it because I did Rise beta, and it was just like, I'm just getting on here to watch it crash, and I was just so turned off that I was like, no, I'll enjoy the surprise. I wasn't even 75 when it came out, so I wasn't part of that rush to get everything. It was great. I loved it.
But Bandris, on the beta server, there was actually a timer that would force you to, basically, if you missed a pass, you'd fail the whole thing and have to start over.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, it was an absolute nightmare.
So I would still be sitting in the one town just like, yep, this guy's trying to teach me how to ride a horse, and I can't get it. They just call me the Walker of Rohan.
Yes, but it did help in my learning how to joust
it definitely
properly.
helped me as well. Yeah.
Of course, I don't do much jousting actually in the field these days, but that's another matter.
Oh, see, I love jousting with somebody. Oh, man, just riding by. Smack! Turn around, smack. It's great.
I haven't done it yet. Can't say I have.
And all right, and then do you guys use the auto-target system much at all?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
All
yeah.
right.
I go in the stance that gives me a power bonus, then use the auto-target to offset the power penalty. And then it's like, yay, I don't have to run 7 things at once.
I still use it to some extent on my Guardian, but on my Hunter, it's fully manual control.
All right. On my champ, I'm full manual. Unless there's a lot of mobs, then I might run it on the auto target sometimes. But
I have to run it on auto. The original incarnation of Bandras on Imladris was last named Stumblefoot because I was known for falling off of cliffs. and I can't. I will go right off. If there's a cliff anywhere, I'll find it and I'll go right off of it. So the auto target saves my life.
All right, and then what advice would you give to someone just starting out on a war steed?
Give it some time.
Exactly. Take your time. Don't charge in full speed. Find something a couple levels lower than you. Practice on it. You know, don't take it at 75 and go running off into the blue because you're going to get frustrated.
Yeah. And, or go ahead.
I was just going to say that one thing that has helped a few people who I've kind of reached out to give a hand is to find something like in the Wold, one of the Aurochs that is yellow and doesn't aggro you, and just practice making your passes. Practice your joust and practice wheeling around it in a tight circle and the different maneuvers without actually attacking it, and just get used to how the horse handles and where you need to be in relation to it for your attacks, and it's really seemed to help out some people.
It's like driving a real vehicle. You have to get a feel for the vehicle, and you have to get a feel for how it maneuvers and what it can do.
Right.
Right, and have you guys used your war steed outside of Rohan?
Everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not switching back and forth.
I don't even have a horse on my hotbar anymore.
All right. And I was going to ask Golden Star about the cosmetics, but I guess we'll ask everybody.
Well, she loves them. I can tell you right now, she loves them. In fact,
Right.
she used
They are fabulous.
She used the determine your own deal a couple weeks back to purchase a bunch of the Mountain Cosmetics.
Okay.
It's all the accessory packs, all of them. Just give me.
Yeah.
Give me. It's great.
Yeah, I want basically all the stuff. I finally, with the current deal that they've got going on in the color packs, I finally got some colors for the hide and the gear that I'm running. But I think my hunter steed is pretty much complete. He's set just the way I want him, and I'm absolutely loving the cosmetic system. We're getting a lot of people sending in screenshots, more than I can keep track of actually, and just some of the variety and the different things that people are doing with their war steeds is amazing.
Wow. So has anyone besides Sig bought the colors on full price or on sale?
I did. I bought a color pack full price.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm hesitant at this moment until I decide who I'm going to have as my main character. So that's the only thing holding me back. I want to, I just haven't.
Yeah, I've got way too many characters to go about buying colors. Especially I have four versions of my Warden themselves. Could you imagine if I tried to match colors for all four of them?
That's just too much money.
If you give one of them, the others will get jealous, so you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, and so Pineleaf, what would be a good price to buy it at, and Merrick as well?
100. There you go.
All right.
No, I think the determine your own deal thing was pretty smart. I mean, it is expensive anyway you cut it. So if you've got one main character that you're focused on, it's definitely a lot easier to decide. I still think they're overpriced, though. It's just too much.
I think they should be about half, if not 40% of what they are. If it was account wide, I'd be on it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I think, and the expansion as a whole, my biggest letdown with it was the prices of these colors.
Yep.
What I had planned to do and things of that nature, when I saw how much the colors were, it just blew me away. And really, they could have kept the same profit margins and made it easier for everybody by just splitting the colors up into individual colors rather than the 4-packs.
Yeah, that confused me. It was like, I don't see the point.
Yeah. Well, somebody on one of the Turbine employees on the forum said that it was more expensive than a regular die because you could reuse it. But how many people out there?
That character, yeah, I hated that post. That was that was an ill-worded post in my opinion.
They weren't thinking about it. But how many people are going to go and change the color of their war steed that often. I just don't see it
Right.
being that common. You know, like mine, I've got it set. It's probably never going to change on my hunter. It's what I want it to be.
It
You know,
depends on what they do moving forward with the cosmetic system with future stuff, which we'll get into later, I guess. But
I just
right
put as
now, I
my
don't see the point.
I just put as my avatar my present war steed, what he looks like, and I'm really satisfied with this.
Yeah, it's kind of like when the shop first opened up and everybody was like, "Oh wow, look at all these new cosmetics!" And I guarantee you, most of the people who went crazy for cosmetics don't buy them as much as they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I am a crazy cosmetic purchaser, and I didn't do that. I saw the prices, and I was immediately turned away.
Yeah. All right, and moving on to mounted combat now. Have you guys noticed any issues, or do you have any problems with mounted combat right now?
The slingshotting.
Yes.
They need to get a handle on
Yeah.
that.
Yep, slingshotting. Other than that, not a problem.
Run.
Yeah.
5 yards back behind a tree or a tent or something. It's almost like you get hung on some kind of piece of geometry and the server doesn't register it until like
Yeah.
5 seconds later.
Right,
I think
because
that's
it's
exactly
not
what's
lag.
happening.
It's not lag. That's
Right.
certainly.
All right, and so burglars have an ability to use a disguise. So are there any other cool things that classes do that others don't?
I don't know. the champion's pretty much straightforward. I mean, it's like go kill stuff and that's it. That's pretty much all. You know, I keep waiting for like something cool like that. I mean, it's good that they gave burglars something.
Well, I was wondering how they were gonna justify stealth, and personally, I find it hilarious because my character wears such a flamboyant outfit. You can see his main outfit through the disguise. So it's like he takes the Easternling hat and puts it on his big swashbuckly pirate hat, and then he's like, "Look at me, guys! I'm an Easterling." And
Yeah, it really does look like that you take whatever you have and quickly throw it on what your costume, you know. So it's pretty funny.
It's great. I love it. But I have to say, as far as the burglars go, I'm pleased that while the interface, you know, is comical, it's believable. It's, you know, how do you stealth on a horse? Okay, this is how.
Hey, I'm an Easterling, a very small one, but
Those guys are such weirdos. What's wrong with them?
Exactly.
So, do you guys want to see more mounted combat in future parts of Rohan and beyond?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, especially when some of the big fights that we're going to get into. I don't know if it'll make such sense for, like, Helm's Deep. I mean, obviously you could fit it in, but Pelennor Fields for sure, it's got to be
That's
there.
exactly
Yeah.
Pelennor Fields.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
I also think on a related to Pelennor Fields now, Osgiliath would make a perfect secondary creep area.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that,
That
was
would be
banned.
fun.
Wasn't that talked about by some of the people in the forums when they were talking about that second
They've been
second
talking
area?
about another map since launch, since beta, you know,
Yeah.
like original beta.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well-
So
and
We
we'll
need
never
people-
hear about it again until they're absolutely sure that it's ready and ready to
Right.
go.
well, let's face it. Until people actually are happy about the way the mechanics of Monster Play works, do you think adding a new map is going to do anything?
right, and we'll get more into that later on. So my next question under mounted combat is if particularly Sig and Pineleaf, if you guys have any tips for making mounted combat easier.
Well, /follow helps a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, use follow and use the spur on to help you get a handle on it. And, you know, again, target something that's not going to aggro you and, you know, kind of practice your maneuvering around it. Sparring helps. You know, if you can team up with somebody that's willing to spar and just kind of let you bounce some attacks off of them as you figure out what's happening, that can help a lot.
All right, awesome. And now moving on to warbands. So warbands go all over the zone, for those of you that don't know, and there are all kinds of types. Some are soloable, some need groups. So my first question is, do you think that warbands are dynamic enough? Because I've fought them for a while, and it seems like they're kind of in the same place, even though they move around in that same place.
They are relatively static. I mean, they have a small patrol, basically, that they move around in. They do have a fairly long range if they're aggroed on somebody. I've seen, who is it, Cramp and Boogud in the same area because somebody had actually pulled them together.
Nice.
That could be an interesting situation.
Yeah, but they. My biggest gripe with them is they're too easy.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with most of them. They're too easy.
Oh,
Well, I mean, I can, as a hunter, I can solo Boogud, which is the raid level arch nemesis. I can solo him and come out with full power and full health.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
was that after they did the adjustments?
That is after. I mean, basically, the adjustments were all on the mob side, as far as I can tell. That they hit a little bit harder and they've got a little bit better chance to dismount you. And the patch notes for that last update said that they had fixed some animations, and I have a feeling that those animations that weren't firing also meant that you weren't getting the damage from whatever attack that mob was trying to initiate on you. So people are getting hit a little bit harder, but it's
Not
still.
hard
I mean,
enough.
not hard enough, I don't think. And I mean, just I hate to say it, but the fact that I can go in and hit my I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the stance, but hit my I think it's the Rohirrim stance, the blue line, and get a power heal and heal my morale back up in 2 hits, and then switch back over to DPS. That's just that's a bit much. So something's got to change there, I think.
It definitely wasn't the challenge that the 2 orcs outside of Orthanc were. I don't know if it should have been on that level, but it definitely. I mean, I know people in beta were killing it, and nothing was ever done about it. And
Well, what was thought in beta was that you were given all the skills basically, and so that was kind of the thought in beta was that they'll tune that down and it'll be balanced later, because that's what they said was it's not balanced yet, and I don't think they ever. I mean, they did balance it a little bit, but not what they should have. So
It looks to me like warbanding or warbands as a whole are a solid base that they just need to tweak with.
Yeah.
They've got a good concept here. They just haven't really gotten time to play with it. So
They're really fun.
They're also probably hesitant to ramp it up too much, because if they did, then there would definitely be complaining about somebody who ran into it accidentally and then just
Well, there's that fine line between running across it when you're in a fellowship or with a group and running across it by yourself and being insta-killed.
Well, part of it, I think, is that you can run away pretty easily if you need to, even if they did ramp it up.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, that is true. I mean, you get that quest pop up pretty. You got a pretty wide berth that you can go around. And you're like, yep, this one is gonna kill me.
All right, and then we'll move on to new systems. So open tapping allows you to group against an enemy without being in a group, but still getting the same rewards. And with Update 9, this will be in all parts of LOTRO. So can you guys think of any negatives? I think we all agree that it's pretty good, but are there any negatives to this move?
Open tapping is slick. I love it.
Amen.
Yeah. Now that they've fixed the fellowship dynamic, I think it's exactly what it needs to be. I do see it as, and I've experienced, the new griefing that can happen with it. But I mean,
I'm not aware of that. What is the new?
Well, basically somebody can just come along and either do an AOE or hit your target once and get credit for you and just wait for you to finish doing the work. And if that's how they want to play, that that's mostly a disservice to themselves, but it's just kind of annoying, so.
But at the very least, I agree with you, it's a pain in the rear, but at least it's not a detriment to your attempt.
Exactly. So
And I really
Yeah.
enjoy it when you're doing a war band and you're solo and you find out that you might not be able to take this because you're only a 78 and you're attacking a level 80 war band. And when you have somebody else, hop in right there, it's a really cool moment.
Oh, that kind of saved the day moment, and that's what sold me on open tapping.
And we can't really forget how nice remote looting is either.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine killing this stuff and riding around and having to stop and loot everything. Oh, it'd be such a drag.
The first round of beta, they didn't have auto loot on all this stuff, so I knew exactly how that felt. it definitely needed to be changed, that's for sure.
And similar to the looting, is anyone else here gloriously thrilled at the bag overflow system?
Yeah, that's awesome.
If they implement that worldwide, I would dance.
And the war seeds are fast enough to where you can ride off to town, sell all your stuff, and then put all that stuff in your bag, and then sell that.
I figured out you can go to a vendor and have your bag overflow open at the same time, and just be like sold.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yep.
That's
good
really to know.
Nice. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, the one problem I've had with it is that quest rewards don't go into overflow. You have to have a bag slot open in order to get a quest reward.
Yes, I've noticed
I
that too.
did not know that. That's something I wonder if that's intended or how that goes.
Yeah, I guess that would be a bug. I don't know.
One of the side notes on bag overflow I think is hilarious is we were all like, yay, 6th bag, we'll never need equipment space again. Nope.
That's so true, yeah. I was thinking that just today when I had one full bag filled up with LIs because of the fact that now you have to have, War Steed LIs as well. And it's just a lot of space.
Yeah. But bag overflow does make it a lot better. That's something I would love to see implemented worldwide.
Yeah. Alright, and then there are also area-based quests where you can just walk into an area and you get the quest. And it allows you to accept the quest and even sometimes complete the quest when you're just out fighting. And so it continues, I think that they should implement this into the rest of the world. What are your guys' thoughts? They kind of did it with Evandim a little bit.
It's a good system. It's great, if you're running at full speed through an area and you don't have to, fidget to try and accept the quest. I think some people kind of dislike it just for the story element,
Yeah.
That's my big... I don't dislike it, but that's my exact thing. I got into LOTRO because I'm a fan of Tolkien, and it does pull you out of the story a bit, but at the same time, things like the end of Epic Book 1, where it's run halfway across the world for your next quest.
Yeah. I think it's like, you see you have this story going on, and then you see extra problems that the guy didn't even know about. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
That's a really good way of looking at it, yeah.
Alright, and then there's also the new method of questing that kind of follows how Dunland went, where it's more accelerated and that. Do you guys like this new method, or do you like the old method? Or do you like parts of it?
I'm mixed on it. I like to be able to load up on quests and just run out and do them, but then at the same time, that leaves a little bit of opportunity for you to miss things. And
You cut out there a little bit.
Yeah, you cut out. I got the miss things, and then that was about it.
The rest. Okay, so I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just me either, but
I'll go ahead and say that my experience so far, I kind of like the way it's handling, because it seems to be every kind of area has a little bit of a story.
Yes, I've noticed that.
And I think you kind of move through it a little bit better. As far as Dunland goes, I wasn't as engaged in that story, and I find myself maybe more engaged in the Rohan story, maybe because it's Rohan instead of like Dunland.
There was a Dunland story?
yeah,
Yeah,
fair enough.
the Dunlin story was you're a devoteeod and we're all going to stab each other in the back.
Yeah, pretty much. Just like everybody hates everybody. The end.
Totally off. There's a guy on Imladris who has a character named Devoteod.
Oh,
So
really?
when he goes to Dunlin, they're all calling him by the first name. I love it.
Nice. But yeah, Rohan seem to have done a better storyline, so I don't mind it as much. I think that the hand holding in Dunland was pretty stinking obvious. I mean, it was like, here, why don't you go this way? And then now why don't you go this way? And then over here, and whoops, you missed that part, so you will not level, but that's okay. Because
And it was really obtuse. It was like, help these people as much as you feel like, then go over here. Well, what do you mean as much as I feel like?
yeah, it's basically until you have no other choice, you have to go here.
Right. One thing about Rohan that I like is each of the individual regions seems to have its own subplot going on. So it's not just about Theoden and the fall of Metaceld. You know, you see the realm as a whole crumbling in different ways in different areas. And I just
that would get old. It would get old. And the Sauron thing was cool and everything because they built it up, but in the end, it was like, yeah, okay, whatever, we get it. He's a bad guy.
Sauron's a jerk. We get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Isengard bids 5. We can move on.
Yes, we all know that he's going to stab everybody in the back at the end. Can we please move on to the story? Yes, thank you very much.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Sorry if I ruined it. He's a bad guy. If you haven't seen the movies or the books by now, I'm sorry that I ruined that for you.
All right, and then on to the we're going to move on to our next category, which conveniently is the epic story. So spoiler alert for everyone that doesn't want it spoilered. And so it starts off in the Lothlorien maze. And then you proceed downriver. Do you guys think it was kind of weird to be going back to Lothlorien again?
It was a pain.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Haven't done it at all.
I feel like they're trying to turn Lothlorien into a quote-unquote high-level Bree kind of quest hub area, and it just doesn't work.
Like that.
It just doesn't work.
It needs to be because you don't want to go all the way back to Rivendell, but you want an elf to tell you what to do kind of thing. You know,
I don't ever want an elf to tell me what to do.
But they're an entire race, sir. We need to fit them in somehow.
Okay. And
you know what I think?
Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think what's going on there is you've got a bunch of developers that were like, hey, we made all these pretty trees, you need to look at them again. And that is why we were back in Lothlorien.
I also think it's a little bit of like, okay, where can we shuffle players off to for a little bit that won't overload the servers? And nobody goes to Lothlorien anymore, so let's...
Once you go there and you sing to a few trees and you get your kindred, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting to see, you know, how they react to the Dunlending girl, but other than that, it wasn't too much.
I am a total, anyone who knows me knows I'm a total Hobbit fanboy. I'm a total Samwise Gamgee fanboy.
What?
So, I know, shock. So the Boromir leaves the Fellowship instances. Those were awesome. When I had to use the skill Hobbit Sense as Samwise Gamgee,
that was awesome.
I literally squeed. I was like,
my favorite moment from the epic story was when you were having to flee Boromir as Frodo, and this was on beta, and I did not put on that ring for half an hour. I would like to let you know.
Wow.
I was trying to find a way out.
I was like, forget this noise, ring.
I was trying to find a bug way out to where I could actually get away from Boromir without putting on the ring, but it didn't happen.
Oh, did you hear that someone managed to kill Boromir?
Yeah, I heard about that. It was crazy. They kept kiting him, and yeah, that was...
So what happened to the instance?
No idea.
Oh, he failed the instance as a result of that.
Oh, I'd imagine you killed Boromir, the Urks recruit you because clearly they had power.
Oh, actually, I remember one time that I was doing that. I think I forgot to talk to someone. I had gone, this was during beta, I had gone up to the seat, got the message there. Then I remembered that I had forgotten to talk to someone, went back, but I could no longer step forward. I was locked in an impossible place
They
because
get
I
to
could
I
no
had
leave
longer
that
read.
and redo.
I had
Yeah.
that same issue on live, yeah. And then also there's the memories that Frodo has, where it's like memories of Bilbo and Gandalf and all that stuff. I thought that was just amazing.
Oh, that
When-
was such a nice touch. It was
yeah.
to get inside the character's head like that.
When,
It wasn't as cool as Hobbit Sense, but it was cool.
right. When I saw that the first time, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Turbine nailed it. So,
And how cool is it you get to wield Sting? I mean, come on.
yeah, that's really cool as well. And then it's also really interesting to see, play as Boromir searching for Frodo. I thought it was really cool how they really got every side of it that you'd want to see, except for maybe Merry and Pippin getting stolen. But
I've been really impressed with how they're able to expand on the stuff directly in the books without getting far away from it.
yeah,
For the
Yeah,
most
they
part.
did excellent job with that stuff.
and I also thought it was interesting when you're playing Boromir and he refers to him as halflings and the elf and the dwarf. That was just hilarious.
Well, did you notice that when Merry and Pippin run by, it says the annoying halfling or something like that?
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then the other one's like the other halfling.
Yeah, the other halfling.
Yeah.
Frodo's servant.
Yes,
And then,
but
yeah, I thought, and the only normal one was Aragorn.
Yeah.
Right.
but when he saves them later, they have the real names.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was really cool.
Well, and I wonder if that's a subtle reference to a shift in character.
I think it is.
I think so. Yeah.
These are people. They are not children. They are not luggage. Well, Pippin's always done. There's a reason my really dumb dog is named Pippin.
And I thought it was really cool when you were just finally in the boat as Sam with Sam and Frodo. That was just
Oh, that was the best.
so awesome.
That was awesome.
I love that screenshot that I have of that. That's just
This preps me for something that's way down the line, but if I don't get a Sam fights Shelob instance, I'm going to cry.
It'll happen. It's
Say
got to
it now.
happen.
it has to happen, yeah. All right, and then in your opinion, did the breaking of the Fellowship live up to expectations?
Yeah. I mean,
Yes, but I think part of that is I was underwhelmed by the Limelight Gorge Fellowship area, where you're in the dream and they're all just kind of standing there. I was like, eh. So when you see the full breaking, I was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah. And then I didn't make it too far past that, so Pineleaf, if you want to continue what happens a little bit, giving an overview, I guess, of some interesting moments, I guess.
Of some interesting moments. How far did you say you got?
I got to the breaking of the Fellowship. You can
Okay, breaking
spoil
of-
anything past that.
All right. Okay.
Massive spoilers coming.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yes, the Fellowship broke, and then you start to determine what happened to everybody. Is the entire point of Book 7 was trying to figure out where did everybody go. We figured out, okay, Frodo and Sam must have gone one way, and Aragorn, Legolas, and the other guy went. But how are we going to catch up with them? Oh, we'll need war steeds to catch up with them. So
Yeah,
they sent.
I think I got just to there, and I'm about to finish that quest. So yeah.
Right. So we are sent to the wold to get our war steeds. So most players probably got them already before doing the epic.
Yep.
Yep.
Now I do have a couple of characters who are doing it in the other order, simply because that's the way their characters are.
What I did is I got to Rohan through the story. Then once I hit Rohan, I went over to the Wold and did that part, and then came back with my war steed to finish up the story.
That's pretty much what I did. I epicked up until you go to Rohan, got my horse, went back to the epic.
Yes. Well, I have a couple of characters, as I said, are definitely going to wait until the epic sends them to the war steed before getting one. For example, I have one character whose task is to do the epic in order, and I consider it to be slightly out of order if I did it otherwise.
I can
Right.
understand that. There's
Yeah.
many people who are dedicated
Yeah.
to following the story, and that's a valid way to play. And I think
Right.
It's a great world immersion method.
Yeah, so I have the RP character doing that. But okay, once you get there, you get your war steed, then you go about helping a few people in the world, because obviously, no matter how much of a hurry you're in, you have to stop by and help some people.
I have
You
to
do?
say though, I have
You
to
do?
say it's much less than what it used to be.
Oh
I
yeah.
assume.
Oh, in Dunland it was
Yeah.
incredibly
And Dunlop, you're just like, really? You guys need me to go get you a bucket of water or something?
Yeah.
Have you guys heard? Like, I freed all the guys in Moria. I stopped Mordred. I didn't go get a bucket of water. Really?
Is there anybody else here in this entire world? Please.
Like, at least let the lore master go get it. Come on, he's gonna come through. It'll be fine.
So once you get your war steed, then you go into Book 8 and you go into the Norcrofts and you help people there, trying to get information about where everybody went. And you eventually wind up in the Entwash Vale and you find out what happened to everybody.
Okay.
And basically you're snubbed by an Ent and he tells you what happened while he's snubbing you.
That's where I am at. He just told me to basically, GTFO. Go home.
So once they do that, you get to talk to Eomer, who is your leader for Book 9, and you try to follow him around until he gets to Edoras, where he's trying to report into the king. And you're left exiled on the other side of the Entwash, where I guess it's east side of the Entwash, where you're stuck there. But let's face it, the epic ends currently on March 1st. Elmer, the healing and Wormtongue falling is on March 2nd, so it's not going to be a very long exile.
Alright, and then what happens?
Well, now that's why you have to wait till, about Book 10 before you find that out?
Okay.
Yeah. And then Heightbolt starts.
Oh yeah, well yes, that's not part of the epic,
Yeah.
but yes.
We'll
you do
get
have-
onto that later. Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, while we're doing the show, I've hit 85, so.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Awesome. Nice. Alright, so on to store prices. So there's not too much with this, but so all bags are now $10. And so
Wow, really?
It's $30 for all 3 bags. Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad I got it. But hold on. If you subscribe for a month, you unlock them all anyway, don't you?
Yep. Yeah. It makes it a lot more viable to be a subscriber.
Well, I'm wondering if the tactic there is once someone subscribes, they're less likely to unsubscribe.
I think it's more the inflation of turbine points due to VIPs having, getting them every month. I think that's really
Yeah,
the
but-
inflation of the store.
Yeah, but the VIP aren't going to worry about buying bags.
Right, but
Yeah.
they have to. I think they've been, increasing the overall store prices in general, at least with new stuff coming out. So
Yeah, their excuse was that people were complaining that you had different items at you had different tiers of items at different prices.
right, so
They
that's
made
their
everything the same price, but they made it all the highest price.
right.
Right.
That's their solution, which is really dumb.
They should have made it 700 each or something like that.
It's like a giant slash rude.
Yep. And then we already talked about the color prices. Do you think they lost any players for doing the color prices? Do you think that they, or the overall store increase and
Lost
stuff like that?
players? No. Lost people who would have spent 250 or 300 points on a color pack? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I was running and gunning. I was expecting like 295 a color, and I was ready to roll with that. I was like, yes,
Yep.
this is going to be awesome. And then I was like, 600 for 4, only one of which I'm going to use, conceivably. And it's just like, really? Really, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, how
Go ahead.
coordinated do you find those colors to be? I mean, if they're reasonably coordinated with each other, then you might get one. They might work together where you buy a pack and it has things you need. But if they're not well coordinated to each other, then yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the packs are, like the pack that's got the color black in it, for instance. The other colors that you get are just lighter shades.
Yes, it's
So-
a great,
Yeah.
that's
That's
a
a
great
good
scale.
pack.
I think. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's really no no point to that I can see. I
there's
don't
no
understand why they did it.
There's no diversity. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, you got 3 different gradients of the same color.
Well,
Enjoy.
That actually answers that question right there. That's so that you spend another 595
That's
points
exactly
on a different
why.
pack.
Oh, you want brown? Oh, I'm sorry, that's a different color. Oh, you want black? Oh, no, sorry. White? Oh, no, sir, that's a different color pack. For the cheap low price of $2.98 right now in the store.
Yeah,
That's
and
at
I tell you
50%
what,
off.
a good indication of how I think most people feel about this particular subject is when you've got places like Cosmetic Lotro and some of the other really popular cosmetic or outfitting blogs, and they're not buying the colors. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because I expected to see the cosmetic blogs explode with outfit horse combos.
Right,
and
yeah.
they're not at all.
Well, they exploded, just not probably the way.
They exploded, and then you get a bunch of gray horses. I think it was, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 nights ago I noticed, and I'm not saying I hadn't seen it before, but I actually noticed somebody on something other than a gray horse. I don't think many people were buying at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost to the point where I used to be like, I'm going to buy every single class steed that came out. I was very optimistic at this point about how much I would want like turbine points for gifts all the time, because there's no way I admit I haven't done that. I've been actually pretty select about which classes I buy the steed for.
Right.
And there's no way if I'm not buying these steeds, and yeah, this is my point. If I'm not buying the steeds, which they're significantly more, but they are, I think, more utility based.
Right.
What makes you think that I'm going to spend $5.95 per character for a single cosmetic?
Yeah, I really don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense at all to me, to be honest.
And it's not just that one pack. It's like for me to get my Hunter's Steed the way that I wanted it, I had to buy 2 color packs to get the copper color in one, the black for the mane and tail in the other. And then since the Steed of the Hunter War Steed matching appearance is not matching, I had to buy a gear pack so that the comparison was green.
Yeah.
My horse took me about 1,500 TP to get right, and that's not even including the pieces I used from Steed of the Burglar.
Yeah.
Wow. And then also included in store prices is well, it's not really included, but I'm including it into this category. Did you guys buy the soundtrack, Chance Thomas's soundtrack to it?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I've purchased a couple copies actually. A digital copy for myself. I actually went to his website, and he was doing a promotion where if you bought one of his other scores, that you got the promotional copy, the Rohan soundtrack as well. I got that, and then I've purchased a few of the Amazon gift albums to give away as well. So I enjoy it. It's good music.
Okay. Yeah, I also bought it, and I really love the soundtrack.
As a tabletop gamer, I have to get stuff like that because it's just so ambient and epic and
Right.
And Chance Thomas is super awesome. I mean, he did a super awesome job. And if there's any way, I think about it as something totally different, and it's kind of voting with your money.
Yes.
This is a behavior that I want to see repeated. I want to see Chance Thomas come back and do the score for every single freaking expansion, and every expansion that he hasn't done the score from, I want them to go back and have him redo all the music again.
Hasn't he done all the? He did all the Lotro, didn't he?
He did the Shadows of Angmar and Moria, and
then they put in electronic orchestra sounds because they have a sound team that does that and does a bunch of other stuff like all the voices and all that stuff.
And I'm not saying that they're not talented, but they definitely didn't have the resources that went along with having Chance Thomas as the composer.
Right.
If you want to see what a talented guy Chance Thomas is, his website is huge. I think it's called Huge Sound. He's done music for Emmy award-winning short films, major television commercials like Pawn Stars, McDonald's, Star Wars video games, Avatar video games. He's more than just the guy who does LOTRO.
Yeah.
He is a virtuoso and deserves a lot of respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and he's just a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy, yeah.
One of the
Super nice.
one of the people who help out with the Warsteed site, wrote a post and was talking about how great the music was, and Chance had somehow found it and actually sent him an email thanking him for talking about the music and the kind words that he had about it, and I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I know he's done that for SIP over on Massively, and he did it for us too, which just goes to show he cares. I mean, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
And going back into the kind of behavior that we want to reward, this is the kind of thing that we want to reward. Whereas if we went into a shop, and I'm going to use an example that I ran into recently, when we went into a kid's shop and there was a game that we wanted my daughter to play, and the main component was like, $17, but then every little accessory was like $15 or more. And the guy behind the counter was like, well, you can get this for it, and you can get that for it, and that's what all these accessories or all these cosmetic options for the Warsteed in the shop feel like. It feels like you got brought in with this great component that you're enjoying, but if you want to make it more personalized, well, yes, sir, that's going to cost you a bunch of money.
It's nickel and diming, but the problem is they're not nickel and diming; they're 5 and 10ing.
Fair enough. Like they've adjusted for like 10 years inflation in the just to future-proof it or something.
And one thing that I would do is I'd actually pay more for Chance Thomas's things. That's one of the few things that I would pay more for.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So. And then he's a really nice guy. He somehow found me on Facebook, the real me, and he likes like all the stuff that I post about that has nothing to do with the Lord of the Rings or anything like. It's just crazy. So, yeah, he's a great guy. So anyway, on to our next category. Next up is Ettenmoors, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to be talking mostly alone on this, but Pineleaf has recently been doing videos with me about the Ettenmoors, so I'm going to let him start off talking about his experience in post-Rohan Ettenmoors.
Well, I have no experience pre.
Right. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just wondering what you think about it right now.
Well, so far I've only spent about 5 hours worth in the moors. I'm not.
That's 5 hours more than me, sir, so you're already ahead.
All right. So I spent a little bit of time in there with Andang trying to understand what's going on. It looks, well, I guess pretty much is go around trying to do a few quests, which is of course not all that unusual, but you could run into other people who are trying to stop you from doing it.
Did you run into that warden that's like 15 steps outside and just like, oh, greenie, and you're like, man, that's it, I'm done.
Yes, that's sort of what it feels like on occasion. Fortunately, I've got a couple of people with me, Andang and occasionally Spydra and some other people, and we managed to actually take out a couple of wardens, and when we have 1 or 2 creeps in the area, we're able to handle ourselves. If we have more than that, then we get squashed. And I'm trying to think, where I'm seeing all these posts about complaining about creeps being overpowered, and I'm wondering, well, it's certainly not low-rank creeps that are overpowered.
Right.
It's interesting in the moors right now though, because they raised the level cap. That you have to be in the moors now, so now it's 80, and not very many people that are 80, because a lot of people, I'd say probably 25% of the people in the moors were not even at cap when Rohan came out, let alone cap now or at level 80 by now. So
I think it's a good thing, because unless you're a healer going into the moors, or you're a mini or a runekeeper running healing, if you're under max level, you're pretty much toothpaste.
Right. The one thing I wish they did let in would be chicken players. That's the one exception. There was so much fun with that on the old way of doing things. It was just pretty crazy, especially when they'd taunt you and somehow make it away before you got to them. Those chickens. Anyway.
Well, and there was a title for that, wasn't there? Like Fool or something.
Yeah, there was. So anyway, in my opinion, to expand on what Pineleaf said, I think that the Entmoors took a huge stride towards being fixed, to be honest.
Good.
One of the really cool things is that now the distance between bases is spread out, so there's not this 1 or 2 choke points anymore. It's now the entire map is free reign. And so you'll see groups go to places where they would almost never go to pretty frequently, and they'll go all over the map now. And so the whole map is getting used for combat, and you really don't know what to expect every time now. So it's increased the dynamicism, not just from previously, but consistently. And so it's been a lot of fun. I've been having quite a bit of fun on there. Some of the other things they've been doing is they added rewards for pretty much everything you take in the Entmoors. And so it actually encourages you to hold on to stuff. Because used to, you just get points for taking a base. And so people would just go back and forth taking and untaking stuff, and they'd get infamy for that, and they'd rank up.
That was so frustrating.
Yeah, and so now there's actually a reason to be defending places and stuff like that, so that's quite a bit of fun. A couple other things is that there aren't any debuff rewards, which I thought was really smart, because with the original system there actually were a couple debuff things that are gone now, and gaining rank is like 1,000,000 times faster because of these buffs, and it's just a blast. I've been really enjoying it.
You're making me want to play now. Yeah, I always thought that the system was kind of, and there may be people who disagree with me, and that's fine. I think that one of the downsides of PvMP is that the fact that there was a little bit of lack of attention on it. It definitely was one of those, this is a holdover from an original conception in the game, and this is how MMOs just kind of worked back then as far as PvMP went.
Right.
And then as WoW developed and went a totally different way with PvMP, more faster and stuff like that, and it doesn't make sense in Tolkien's world to do some of the things that WoW did, like arenas and things like that. That doesn't make sense. Although some of the other things.
I'm telling you, skirmishes with both sides on each side.
And that was something that they thought about doing, and they probably like too much money. We can't do it. So it really was overdue for a revamp, and it's just kind of. I mean, I'm glad that it got the attention that it did, but at the same time, I can't help but wonder if maybe, we talked about the map beforehand, is something like that out of, their field of view now, because it's not where their core audience is. So.
Well, according to the dev post, it seems like that's actually their focus moving. They're going to have a little bit of a focus on PvP moving forward.
They really should, because there is, and WoW is just one of the places that I'm actually familiar with. There's such a core audience that can go along with that, and such a diehard group that it seems like they're missing out a little bit by not focusing on it.
Right. One thing I think that's really cool that they're doing is they have this season implementation, which I wasn't too excited about first when they announced it, but with Rohan, what they did with the season, it's just like, wow. It basically they said that there's going to be a season every major update, and so that kind of forces them into changing stuff.
Good point.
So yeah, it's a great way to keep them doing stuff, I guess. So
what exactly does the season do?
Basically, they're quote unquote calling it seasons, but really it's just it's kind of like a football season where every year or so you'll start fresh and change some stuff and do stuff like that. So
You
Yeah,
have
they
to
did
go
that
back
in-
to rank 1?
no, you don't have to go back to rank 1, but you know they're giving it a they're giving it changes is basically all it means. So,
Yeah, they did that in World of Warcraft where there'd be a season and the gear would get refreshed, and then they'd make minor tweaks if they had to, and then you'd go at it and everything, points would start accruing and so and
now
so.
that Sapiens was forced to do PvP, we could see a lot of changes coming towards.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. All right, on to Hypebolt, or Hitbolt, or Leonorville, if you listen to certain podcasts. So, Pineleaf, I'm going to let you start, because I know that you've gone through it.
Yes. In fact, I just started my second character through it today.
That's dedication.
Well, they're on 2 different servers, so I am
Aw, you have no choice.
going to have... Yes. When you hit level 84, you get a little letter in the mail, which invites you to hit all over to Hitbolt to join them in trying to rebuild the village. And when you get there, you'll find basically everything's burnt to cinders.
I didn't do it. I'm a burglar. I'm used to being blamed. I'm a hobbit. I'm always blamed, but I didn't do this.
It definitely wasn't a sausage fire out of control. It's just a rumor.
No, not at all.
No. The rumor I heard it had something to do with orcs.
Good. The word was actually
Right. Therefore, you go into there and you rebuild the mead hall, and then they say, all right, now this is a good start. What you'll do is you bring me tokens, and you can rebuild other points. And you get 5 quests a day from throughout Rohan that you could do. There are 16 quests in all per day, 4 in each region, and you do 5 a day in order to get your tokens, and you use these tokens to rebuild Hypebolt. And the idea is that after 44 days, you've got a beautiful, nice village that you can become Thane of.
And do you find that lore breaking or anything like that to become, like, say, a Hobbit Thane or something like that?
Well, that's one of the reasons why my first character I did this with is with a minstrel of mine on Winfala, and this minstrel is ostensibly from Rohan, but was exiled because of a certain song she wrote about Wormtongue.
Nice.
So, of course, she's using the name Pine Song right now, and the reason why she's using that name is because if they heard her real name, she'd be executed.
I like this story.
It's like a
Yeah.
really
I'm
cool
enjoying
story.
it.
Right. So therefore, I'm going around doing this, and so now I'm redeeming myself by, of course, rebuilding Hypebolt and becoming a Thane in my own right.
Okay. And does becoming a Thane, does that have anything special, or is it just a title?
I don't know. I haven't reached the 44 days yet.
Okay.
I'd have to say that as far as it being lore breaking, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, Theoden tells Merry, "You're an esquire of Rohan, but no, you can't go fight. No, you can't do anything.
That's true.
Stay home and stay in the kitchen." So, if you take it in that sense, I don't think it's lore breaking at all.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And can I just say that sometimes you just gotta relax? I mean, it's a,
Exactly.
It's not an issue for me. I was just,
well, I know, but you're right. I mean, there is sometimes you just have to say, okay, I'm playing a game. I am either paying a monthly fee or whatever. I'm investing time in it. Sometimes it's just cool to have fun.
yeah.
Now, of course, what is going to be disconcerting is that you're doing this for 44 days, and you're all doing this between March 1st and March 2nd.
The timeline of LOTRO has never been the strongest point of the game.
Right, and did the quests get repetitive so far? Have you noticed that? I don't
Yes
know.
and no. Yes and no. There's good variety in the different quests in the different regions. Each region has one mounted public instance where your goal is just to run in and defeat mounted enemies, but then each region has other quests where you'll get two of them that are in some sort of like a dungeon or a public instance of some sort, and then you'll get some other quests to run like a race out of Cliving or run the hobby horse in the Wold and things like that. So there's a lot of variety. The issue is the randomness of what quests are available on what days isn't really random. It seems like sometimes a certain quest will stick and it'll be there for the following 2, 3, 4 days, and it holds you up from being able to complete the deeds that are associated with them.
This is the same random number generator that's been playing as
Yeah.
It says the skirmish master who had to master those deeds.
It's the same random number generator that caused me to loot somewhere around 60 huge treasure sites in the treasure event and never get a treasure-laden steed on the
That's
character
messed
that I
up.
wanted
That's
it.
pretty
Yeah,
messed up.
I finally got one on my level 6 burglar at like loot number 56 or something like that. But yeah, it sucked.
I'm
Now
gonna
you're
make
like-
you cry. At the,
Hey, like,
first,
great, now I got to level this guy too.
at the very first treasure hunt event that they did, the first official one, the first pick I took on my first character, which was my main, walk over to the first digs that I saw, hit it, got a jackpot horse.
Nice.
I was just like, and it's never happened again. I haven't hit a huge one since. But I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'll take those up.
And you guys mentioned the hobby horse earlier. Would you like to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, basically it's a race that you run inside the town of Harwick, and you pick up a little horse head on a stick, and you gallop like Sir Arthur from Monty Python and Holy Grail, or King Arthur, and you just run around with the stick horse between your legs, hitting different waypoints and work your way around the town in the time allotment that you have. It's fun.
Yeah.
You do it once, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's not a total time allotment. It's a time allotment per checkpoint.
Between waypoints,
Yeah, each time you hit a waypoint, it resets. I do have a video of it at my video channel.
This sounds glorious.
It's fun.
This sounds like how, because we don't like horses to begin with, but
Now, you guys mentioned Monty Python earlier. I would like to point out that I did predict at one time that the Captain's Herald would just fall around with coconuts. I think it is as close as you can get without being too close of an homage. So, all right. And do you guys prefer this type over the typical end game?
Seeing that
I'm enjoying it.
Mm.
As someone who doesn't have a computer that can handle raiding, I love having endgame content that isn't geared to raiders.
This is the first time that I've ever had a full set of raid gear.
Exactly.
There you go.
It gives you the means to get that kind of gear without having to pay for it in hardware or and to be honest, just sheer grinding. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, it's a grind. It's a 44-day grind. But it's an in-game element. It's not repeating the exact same instance or Skyrim or raid over and over and over again.
Yeah, and getting your armor, I mean, if that's your goal, it's not that bad. I think I got my full set for my hunter in maybe 6 or 7 days.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
That's really good.
The trick is you have to hit the height bolt guide on the forums and find out what different buildings you have to rebuild to unlock your pieces of armor.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and that's the one place where this system is severely lacking. Is there's no indication in game what rep and what rebuilds you need to do to get any given piece of armor. At least not that I can find.
That was probably done on purpose, though, unfortunately.
But you go and there's just you hit your vendor and then all of a sudden something is purchasable now and you have no idea why. So the guide on the forums helps.
Okay. And then, is there anything missing? Like I heard there's no storage, so...
Don't know.
Well, in beta, no one ever unlocked a vault, and we do not, and since no one's finished Hype Vault yet, since I don't think 44 days has passed since Rohan's been released yet. It's getting pretty close, though. So we don't know if Turbine's added it since then.
It would be kind of odd to. I mean, they have the crafting stations. They have crafting instances. You get endgame armor. It would be really weird not to have a vault there, and if there isn't one, I'd be interested in knowing why.
But they do things like that.
It'd have to be a
Estelden-
mistake.
But they do things like that. Like Estelden doesn't have an auction house.
That doesn't make it smart, though.
No.
Well,
Turbine's smart,
Estelden being a major hub is weird enough as it is.
Well, yes.
And that's a very old. That's a much older time. I mean, this is the first time we've seen like them kind of just throwing out these major hubs. And can I just say it's about time, because
I'd have to agree for sure.
Galtrev was a huge. I mean, when you have people going back to the 21st hall to get away from lag, that's a pretty big indicator that something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it also helps, how spread out Rohan is anyway, just from, a geographical standpoint. It's a huge area. All right, on to crafting. Has anybody done any crafting? Because I don't actually craft, so.
A little.
A little.
I still haven't finished my Westfold tier. I'm a sad person.
Yeah, I managed to finish it on my lore master, on my minstrel, who's a scholar. My warden is only just getting started with it, who's the cook.
Have you guys noticed anything different or interesting about it?
Well, not much different on scholars that I've noticed, nor with cooks. I don't know about the others.
Okay.
I would say the jewelry, scholar, and cook are probably going to maybe be the most relevant outside of crafting LIs. I mean,
Well, because they make the items that are universal to all classes.
exactly, and I kind of think with Hypebolt and everything that it's like I can wait 5 levels. I don't need to master my metalsmith. I mean, I guess to make a shield, but other than that, it's just there. I mean, it's kind of a little bit more selective now. I mean, I think that's a downside to Hypebolt. Although I'm not saying that Hypebolt is a bad idea. I totally dig it, and I think that it's great. But I mean, it's just that's the other side, is that okay, crafting doesn't seem to be as important as crafting that full set of gear isn't that big of a deal, because you don't have to worry about that faction. You just grind out Hypebolt, and there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
That makes me very happy. Like,
So-
Hypebolt is one of the things that I'm looking forward to when I hit 85, which will probably be in 3 months.
So do you guys think crafting's been devalued, or certain classes aren't as, crafters aren't as valuable anymore?
Well, it's always kind of been that way with some of them,
I'd have to agree, yeah.
I thought that Isengard was a little bit of a slap in the face to crafters. I hate the reputation gating. I hate it. I absolutely think that it's total. I mean, it really made me mad when I found out that vitality food was something that was rep gated. So I can't make vitality food on my. I mean, yes, you can say that you're stimulating the economy by doing that, but at the same time, okay, you've just taken my, month of effort of getting a supreme or whatever Westfold crafter. You flushed it down the toilet. Now my only option is to level up that character. Oh, and by the way, every other single character that I want to, if I want to make something out of the crafting guild, that's not, that's outside the crafting guild recipes, which are super easy to max up, which to me is kind of a little bit backwards. Not that I want you guys to change it. If you're listening to this, please don't change it. But at the same time, I get it. There should be maybe there should be something special for someone who has leveled up all the way and done reputation stuff. But something is like, I mean, come on, Vitality food, you can't tell me that wasn't chosen specifically as something reputation gated on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most functional foods out there, they're like, yeah, let's replicate that. And then they just continue to do it. I'm just like, you know, it's just kind of like, well, you're either going to force people to buy stuff off the auction, which is fine, but at the same time, you also make me devalue the system and not really care about it that much anymore. So
Yeah, and I've always been the kind of person who, if something is gated by rep, there's a pretty good chance I'm never going to see it.
yeah.
I hate the rep grinds, and then, you know, I've done just enough. I've never been big into the crafting, but I've got, you know, I had a capped weaponsmith with Rise of Isengard, and then my hunter that I just brought up for Rohan. I managed to actually take scholaring all the way, and I'm almost done getting him to cap. And I've really noticed, at least with scholaring, that it is a pain in the butt, those last 2 tiers. It's so convoluted.
Well, wait. Pain the last 2 tiers in
Well,
Scotland?
yeah, it's you have to take this ingredient and combine it to get another ingredient, and then take that and combine it with something else to get a book that you can combine with something else to get, you know, and it just, I don't know,
I guess I was thinking from the point of view of it is because in the lower levels you have the pain in the neck of actually finding the things in order to make the stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely not a lack of materials on the high end. I mean, the materials are easy to come by for scholars.
It's an output issue.
Yeah.
I think Pine Leaf's not arguing the fact that it's not a pain in the butt in the higher levels. It's a pain in the butt in the lower levels too. But God, I remember when the game first started, Golden Star as a scholar, and it was almost, you know, it was up there with like kill stealing for her. It was like, oh, you better get away from my I spent, you know, it's just this venomous words that come out of the mouth when you like somebody runs up and she thinks that they're going to take the scholar node because there's not another one for like 3,000 meters.
Yeah.
And that's an exaggeration, but it's almost true. If you go into like the older world, ruins are few and far between. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, the main reason I asked about crafting was because I knew that with Isengard, it really felt like that they were making a push to making crafting be more of a viable thing.
I think it backfired on them, to be honest with you. I mean, I still have some crafted stuff. I think specifically my Guardian Shield, and you know, I went to the Tower of Orthanc and everything. I'm not tier 2 or anything, and I never got past I never got to the Shadow Gate or anything like that. But at the same time, I really felt like, I really think that most of the crafters get stuck with doing potions, doing jewelry, or doing LIs, and that's and.
But you know what? As a scholar, everybody needs potions, so you always are in need. People are willing to give you mats, and yes, it's a bit repetitive, but it's something everyone can always use. And to me, that's like really useful because I have a high-end Guardian who's like 76, 77. I don't know if you have this problem. Power. I always run out of power in my Guardian. Being a scholar compensates for that, and being able to provide for your kinmaids and people you run with, being like, here, I've got 50 potions. When you don't have a scholar, it's like you're happy to have 5.
Yeah.
Especially me. Like, honey, can I log you on? Why? I need to make potions. Will you be reimbursing me for the materials? What, honey? I didn't hear that.
Alright, on to graphic upgrades. So, have you guys noticed any of the graphic changes? I know they've been really talking about it pretty heavily.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't have a DX10 card, but yeah, no, it looks a lot better. In fact, I said to somebody the other day, it's like, man, because I logged on in Hobbiton after playing in Rohan for like a couple hours. I'm like, wow, this place looks like garbage. not that it's aesthetically unpleasing, but it's just like, wow, the differences in the landscape and what they would have done now with the old world compared to what they've done with landscape currently is
really
amazing.
The vistas down, like that sweeping horizon kind of thing.
Yeah, and those awesome sunsets, those pink iconic sunsets are just amazing.
Yeah, I know that like some of the quote unquote lighting changes and everything like that are retroactive, but if they're not implemented, I mean, even going into Lothlorien compared to Rohan just looks, even though it's plains, it looks fuller, it looks more lush.
Yeah, it definitely does.
It looks amazing, and I know it's a ton of effort and that art is incredibly expensive, but man, someday it would be really cool to see some of these areas just upgraded and have that kind of detail. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it would be very cool.
It's getting with the I think it's DirectX 11. I've been playing Rohan since it's been out, and I just noticed the other day, running through one of the older zones, that the grass was actually being trampled down by my character as I was running through it.
Yeah, I know that.
And I actually had to go and ask. I was like, "Has this always been here?" Because I had never noticed it before. I was asking kinmates if that was new. And that's in an old zone, so some of the graphical enhancements are spilling over.
Yeah, one thing that they did do as well is now water has a little bit of a look of volumetric effects, meaning that like it actually will move the way it's supposed to move, like upstream or downstream if you're on the highest settings.
Yeah,
much more convincingly than it did.
Yeah, maybe it's a restriction on my card because I only have DirectX 9, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's only 11. So.
I run primarily on ultra low, so you guys enjoy.
That's all right. And on to predictions for what's coming up next. So where do you guys think we're going to go next? Do you think it's straight to Rohan, or do you think it's going to be like a small zone or something like that?
I think they have to release the other half of Rohan.
Yeah, they have to. I mean,
eventually, but I'm just wondering when is the thing.
Next year. I think they're going to stick to the yearly. Release if they can.
Yeah, but then what's going to be in the spring release?
Well, that's what I'm wondering is what's in between.
Some area that was mentioned once in the book.
Yeah.
All right,
I could see them taking the western part of Rohan and actually maybe splitting that up into two of the free, zone expansions that we get.
They could. I mean,
every once in a while. Yeah, and then then we'd be looking at possibly Gondor as the next major expansion.
Yeah.
I doubt that's going to be within a year.
No. I mean, we'd be looking at it's 6 to 9 months down the road. For the next major content update outside of whatever these instances and raid clusters that they keep talking about and not giving anybody information on.
Well, we'll find out about the raid cluster next week.
Yeah.
Supposedly,
we'll see.
And then usually it's around beginning of the year, I think, where they actually do a press release about what expansion they're going to have. Right. So I mean, first half of the year we'll know. But I can see that. I could see them maybe like, well, are we really going to be ready with Helm's Deep in a year? Maybe we need to push that off.
My question actually is, do you think that they will have Helm's Deep ready by next year?
Nah, I don't know. It's huge.
I don't think so either. I mean, that's such a huge project. They've said they've been working on it for over a year, but at the same time, I don't know.
Yes, well, where else will the Epic take us?
I'm going to take a shot in the dark here. I think now that Warner Brothers has control of Turbine and with the movies coming out, hold on.
Oh, man.
I think we're going to see Northern Mirkwood.
No, they can not even Turbine could come up with an excuse for sending us to Northern Mirkwood.
Yeah, they can.
Except for that check I sent them to make my April Fool's joke true. That's what they're gonna do, is make my April Fool's joke.
I
I have to tell
That's
you
what's
something.
gonna
When I
happen.
read the April Fool's article this year, I was excited. I would have loved that.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Lonely Mountain myself, but I think I have to agree with Pine Leaf that if they did, it's a total marketing move, and it's total, it's a
It's also
total
Warner Brothers.
distraction. Yeah, it's a big Warner Brothers push. It's kind of like, hey guys, you know what you need to do? Dale, big sign, Dale.
I still think that if they're going to do anything with Northern Mirkwood or with the Lonely Mountain, it's going to be a skirmish outside, because the full new zone requires us to move the Epic there, and I cannot see moving the Epic to.
No, they can't. I mean, they made such a big deal out of returning to the Epic. It would be just, I mean, it kind of be total BS for them to go any other way.
Well, we're moving farther south, so we have to move farther north. So we have to go to Mirkwood again next time at the start of the next book. That just
Well, you
makes
know,
logical sense.
On one hand, if it was just Turbine, sticking with the Epic all the way, but now that Warner Brothers has a hand in it,
Yep.
I don't know. And Warner Brothers has already proven that they really don't mind being sued by
Anybody?
Chris Tolkien and all that. So, I think they can pretty much do, they'll do whatever they want, and if they want to, utilize the hype with The Hobbit and release the Lonely Mountain, if they think it's going to make them a buck, they may do it.
Well,
Yeah,
here's
because
the-
they definitely missed the boat on the potential of Harry Potter, I think, and
Oh, yeah.
so I doubt that they would let another thing. And like you said, they definitely have the lawyers to keep any litigation busy for a long time.
Here's my prediction. When we get to Helm's Deep and the glittering caves that Gimli falls in love with, we're going to find a secret passage to the Lonely Mountain.
That's actually going to be the epic, is to help Gimli dig a tunnel from the glittering caves to the Lonely Mountain.
Yep.
Or maybe one of those Bree doors will open up in Moria, and it'll be like, level 110 gated, and we'll get to go to Lonely Mountain through there.
Yeah.
Long story short, I think we're going to see some Hobbit tie-in. No matter what we do, it's going to
They would be stupid not to.
I think there'll
It kind of would be.
I think there'll at least be cosmetic something or something like that.
Even if it was session play, who doesn't want to, be Bard the Bowman running around a burning lake town trying to shoot smog down? That would be awesome.
Yep.
It would be awesome, but how the heck do you tie that in? It's not like Gandalf was
Who cares?
in the old days. Wait, I know we have this huge pressing thing, but let me tell you about Bilbo.
You know what? As far as the tie-ins, they were able to take the Emperor from Star Wars, make him look like a dwarf, and run around, Breland shooting lightning at people. They can tie in anything they want.
Yeah.
One thing they could do is they have the thought of Bilbo,
Yeah.
So you could have Frodo looking back at like the origins of the ring or something, kind of like the origins of Isildur and stuff like that. I could see that going.
Or we go back to Lorien again, and Galadriel says, "Go talk to my buddy Elrond." Elrond says, "Go talk to my buddy Bilbo." Bilbo says, "Hey, I left something in Lake Town."
Oh, well.
And then you're like, oh, I can't go there because Turbine never built that.
Oh, there's the thing about the four horsemen. One of them was talking about how he modeled himself after Bard.
Really?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yes, there is one of the writers for says that he was inspired by Bard, the Slayer of Smaug. So if he talks so he might be able to launch off a session play with Bard.
There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There we go. We found it.
You just made them worse. I can't believe you were able to
We're
do
all
that.
getting C&D letters to shut our traps. Stop it! You're talking too much.
They are never. Oh, those poor guys.
All right. If everybody's done with that, we'll move on to final thoughts.
There's actually one serious kind of prediction that I have here, and
Okay.
it may be kind of far-fetched, but looking at this Heightbolt stuff, I really think they're kind of trying to eventually do something with player housing and the rebuilding of that town.
That would be awesome.
That would be
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I can't agree with
Like
you.
an Assassin's Creed kind of thing. That would be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, because they've got the technology between instances and phasing and all that stuff that every single player could conceivably share the same space,
Yeah.
and it would still be their own personal house. I mean, and especially with all these millions of banners and pennants that we get from killing warbands, we got to have a place to put it all. And my house in Thorin's Hall is just not big enough for it. So,
Well, you can add an addition for an additional 1,000 turbine points if you would like to, sir.
I'd do it. I see the value in that.
I would totally
I would do it. Yeah.
Speaking of Rohan housing as an aside, take a big Rohan keg, put it in a Hobbit house. Trust me, it's glorious because it touches the ceiling. It's holding the house up. It's
That's awesome.
All right, on to final thoughts. So, what did you guys do first when Riders of Rohan launched?
Got my horse.
Yeah, just did the standard intro quest.
All right.
I got 2 horses in one night.
Nice.
Nice. What about you, Pineleaf?
I'm trying to. Actually, I think I got my mount. Then I went to. I try to remember if I did the epic first or if I did the because of all the time I spent in the beta. I can't remember what I did in the beta and what I did in live.
Well, what did you do first on beta then?
On beta, the first thing I did was getting a mount because that was on the day where on the land rush, and they wanted everybody to do that. They didn't even open up the epic on the first day of beta.
Yeah, that's right. That was an interesting time when the first quest you could do would be getting your mount. It was pretty fun.
God, the first day of beta was horrible.
Oh yeah, the first day of beta was terrible. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it was really cool to have the ability to get your mount War Steed right away. So.
That was nice.
That is, of course, assuming that you were able to get the quest complete, because on the first day of beta, open tapping was not yet universal in Rohan.
Yeah, that was interesting too.
That was so
And
frustrating.
the salamanders were not open tapping, and the brigands, and those were major locks during the beta until they opened it up.
Because we're sharing what we did on the first day of beta, I think I'll share that, and then I'll share what I did when Rohan launched. So first day of beta, I went through and basically did just like a simple map tour. And then MMORPG had a thing with Rowan Campbell. And they said, if anybody wants to get on the beta server and join us, you can. And so for the next hour, I basically had a tour of Rohan with Rowan Campbell, and that was just unforgivable.
That's bold.
That's pretty cool. Rowan's
that'd be cool.
Rowan's a pretty cool dude. Seems down to earth.
Yeah, and so that was really cool, and he gave me some tips on mounted combat and stuff like that, which I've long since forgotten. And well, once you learn them, it's once you learn how to do mounted combat, you get it. So
Yeah.
And then when Rohan went live, I actually realized that I'd been too busy deed grinding to realize that I had half of Great River left to do. So for the first 2 weeks or so, I went through and did all that, and then I realized that I didn't do a quest back in Isengard that I had to finish, so I did that, and then I finally made it to Rohan. And so.
And then, no, I gotta say, as far as closing slots, I mean, I wasn't there for when Moria opened. We had stopped playing LOTRO for the time being at that point, but I gotta say, it took me a while to get into it because it was kind of like, which character do I choose? How am I gonna balance this in with my the schedule that I've adapted since I really didn't have anything I was excited about to do in Isengard anymore, and now that I'm in it, I'm just like, wow, this is fantastic. I am absolutely loving it. It is so much fun.
Yeah, it's a blast. I mean, the mounted combat, the fact that you can get quests just going around, riding around, and you don't have to stop between enemies, it's just so addictive to just keep doing one more enemy.
Yeah, I mean, I really think they knocked it out of the park here so far. That's been my experience.
Yeah, this is absolutely the most fun that I've had with the game since, the Shadows of Angmar days, back when everything was new and, you were in that kind of awe of everything. I haven't had that feeling with the game since then, and this is right up there. So,
for me, it was reminiscent of the first time I played LOTRO, and the hooking moment for me was, which is funny because I hate elves. I got to look down on Rivendell for the first time, and the stars were out, and you could hear the music, and I was like, "Wow, I'm in Middle Earth."
yep.
And over the years, that feeling faded. And the first time you look across the plains of Rohan and you see that purple sky, and then I saw a herd of wild stallions just come pouring down the hill. It was just like perfect. The grandeur of it all.
Yep.
It's just there for me. So I am pleased.
That's another thing that I thought was really cool. We'll move on to ahead a little bit. One of the things that I noticed was the feel of Rohan, and Rohan feels like the Shire. It feels like Bree. It feels like those early areas, and I really don't know quite how they did it to make it, to all of a sudden flip a switch and be back to how they used to be. But it's really amazing. I think that having children, having the steeds roaming around, having all that extra stuff helps. But I really don't know exactly what it is that makes it feel like those older zones.
Well, it's just that it's that same thought of wow, I'm actually in Middle Earth, and what they've done here is they've between the amazing amount of detail that went into the artwork and the amazing music. I mean, the immersion. Even if you're not somebody who's here for the immersion and you're not here to be in Middle Earth, you can't help but to fall into that immersed state and just be enthralled by everything that is Rohan.
Yeah.
I mean, they absolutely nailed the ambiance and the setting.
All right. And are there any quests you didn't like or had a hard time with?
Not really.
For me,
No.
the stuff in the East Wall kind of got a little bit boring just because of how close the mob density is in there. It's it's like, all right, we're in Rohan, and now we're going to go over to the East Wall and not be in Rohan. So that's the only thing really for me.
Yeah, the East Wall isn't technically part of Rohan,
Right.
so it's an older zone. In fact, that's probably used by some people as a transition point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where the story brings you down to, so I assume that's why.
But anyway, that fellowship, the silly fellowship, is.
I just got to those guys. I just found those guys. Those guys are morons.
Yeah, but that feels like some fellowships I've been in.
Yeah. I think those are the same people I was running around with back in 2007 trying to do Blackfire in the North Downs.
Right, and then are there any bugs that you found on live that either caused you frustration or made you think about stop playing or something like that?
Not stop
that
playing.
bad. No.
The rubber banding that we mentioned recently is it's a little out of hand. I hope that they can discover whatever is causing that. And
Yeah, that's a real pain, and again, it's fixed now. But the open tapping thing with fellowships was, I found I play in a duo, and the only reason that we continued to invite each other after being forced to disband for various solo quests was so that we could see each other on the map.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they fixed that, but that was, for the first couple weeks of Rohan, that was kind of tough.
It wasn't a fix.
Okay.
You guys were doing it wrong.
Maybe so, but I tell you what, the first warband that we came across and didn't really, hadn't experienced yet, really how it affected the Fellowship, and my girlfriend, she was basically tanking all the ads and somehow managed not to get a hit on the warband leader.
Right.
That was the worst.
I read your post
credit,
on that.
Yeah, so it was just like.
And you weren't
Actually,
the only one.
they did say that one was a bug.
Yeah, they said that one was a bug because the warbands are all supposed to act as one mob, but obviously, whether it was related or not, it all comes down to that's not what people wanted to do. This is not. It was kind of a weird. I mean, it's a weird change. I understand their philosophy on it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think when you apply that to a game, it doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
Especially.
One of the problems I had about the way people were doing it is that is one way I could actually see Turbine's point of view on this.
Yeah.
Very often what you would have is 6 people soloing together and then going after 6 different mobs not supporting each other.
Yep.
I think that's what they meant by locusting. They're going out like a herd of locusts, and let's face it, all they're doing there is gaming the system. They're not really working together.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can understand that's what Turbine was trying to discourage. Unfortunately, they did quite a number of other cases that were quite, in my view, commonly used, like, for example, buffing. And, of course, the champion syndrome, where the champion's getting all the credit, and the poor hunter is, is getting half.
Yeah.
Right. And then, what's your favorite side quest in Rohan, if you have one?
Oh, that's easy.
All right.
The one with the little kid who's the Thane. As a hobbit, when you're running around getting to do all the stuff that the kid who's taller than you and probably stronger than you can't, there's a certain smug satisfaction. You kind of want to look at the kid and go, neener, neener, neener.
That's awesome.
My favorite is probably, and it's hard to pick just one. I mean, looking at the content that you do, I mean, just from a pure, grab the quest and run. I mean, a lot of it was really fun, and then the writing for, I mean, even the side quests, the storytelling was amazing. So I'm having a hard time, but I think that the most fun that I had with a single quest was, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was that first one that you get when you mount up and you're riding alongside with other, NPC riders and taking down targets.
Yeah, I think that's 5 Against the Wold, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
I can't really think of any. I've just been enjoying it, and I haven't progressed through the content as much as you guys. So, but
Okay.
yeah.
For me, it's the murder mystery, and you
What?
have to, and you
That
have
sounds
to, you have to live with your choice. You have to pick which person it is, and they get put in jail.
Oh,
And
you know
have
what's
to,
great?
What?
Is the most recent time I did that,
Mm-hmm.
the room where I was with one of the suspects
Uh-huh.
had bugged out on something, and it made it look like the person was lying to me. And I just said, all right, this is the one time where I'm going to accuse that person. Because normally I would not have accused that person to it, but I said, sorry, it bugged out there and made it look like the person was lying to me. So okay, time to do it.
But yeah, on the beta, it was severely bugged, and I loved this quest so much that I did all the workarounds I could, and eventually got through it, and it was just awesome. I absolutely love that quest. I haven't done every side quest, so I don't know if that's the best one, but that's my pick for now. And so, what was your favorite story quest or part of the epic story. Specific, and if you're doing the splitting of the fellowship, then a specific part of it, I guess.
That's a hard one.
Hobbit sense.
For
You
me,
know, I got a lot of enjoyment out of seeing the how Boromir viewed everybody. You know,
yeah, that's my pick as well.
yeah.
I'm not doing it, so I can't.
Yeah.
What about you, Piney?
Well, I just have to say, seeing the Golden Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And though I did thought it was very amusing that they made this big deal about not bringing in your weapons. But they
And
don't
you go
put
in there with them anyway.
You go in there with them anyway. They don't put a debuff on you to disarm you or anything like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten that far yet. That's funny.
I wonder if they're going to change that later on, if that's a glitch or something. Alright, and then are there any special areas, secret areas, or anything that surprised you in general about Rohan?
How good it was, probably.
I'd have to agree. I was absolutely amazed, even on the beta, how great the expansion turned out to be.
This is
Yeah,
gonna
I was
sound-
very pleased.
It's going to sound silly, but this surprised me. And it sounds like a completely inane point, but it's not, is Eomer's beard.
It's epic.
The point I'm making is they look Anglo-Saxon, even more
Yeah.
so than the films. They look like Anglo-Saxons with horses, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the cool details that they put into the areas, like for example, I found these carven wood riders that look like they're in the middle of combat, and they're just these little wooden carvings in one house somewhere. And it's just really cool to see this detail being put in and making sure that there's different items in different places. I thought it was just really cool to see the detail.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so what's your favorite part of the expansion as a whole?
I don't think I need to answer that one. Kind of obvious.
Skirmishes, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, no skirmishes in the new one yet.
What about you, Pinley?
Ooh, I'd have to say mounted combat.
Alright. Merrick?
Yeah, I'll go with mounted combat.
Alright. Bandris?
In spite of the pricing, I do love the cosmetic horse system.
Okay. For me, it's the Breaking of the Fellowship. I just really love that. Alright, and let's see what's next. Alright, so this is going to exclude our two guests for this time, but you guys will probably still be interested in this, I guess. So last time we made predictions on what we thought we'd be most excited for with Rohan. And Golden Star said cosmetics. Do you think that's still true, Merrick?
Yeah, considering how much money how many points she spent on that, yeah, make your own, yeah, I definitely say that. She loves dressing up the horse. In fact, she and Baby Hobbit love dressing it up together, so, yeah.
I feel like I'm a vaguely stand-in Golden Star here, because I'm just like, everything's fabulous.
Well, you kind of are the male Golden Star, so that's all right.
You know, I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
That's fantastic.
I did choose to marry her, so I have a high opinion of her, so.
Oh, this is true. This is true. Well, then thank you, sir.
You're welcome. She may not appreciate it, but
Most women don't like being compared to me. Trust me. Ask my wife.
We can just edit this part out of the video.
no.
Alright, and Merrick, you said that you were most excited about things to explore. So, do you think that's still the case?
I do find myself enjoying it quite a bit. I will say that, you know, it is quite a bit of fun to go and see how they've made these planes, which could, I'm from Texas, they can be boring after a while, and made them, aesthetically pleasing and just different. You can tell when you're in a different area of Rohan. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm just in this part that's been copied and pasted over here. So yeah, I think they did. I do enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to being sent all over and going into Fangorn again and everything. So yeah, I'll stick with that. That's turned out to be true. I think I'm probably more at this point gaga over the whole new systems of mounted combat and open tapping and remote looting right now, because I haven't gone that far. But yeah, everything's pretty cool.
Okay. And Pine Leaf, you said repetitively, killing goblins with your spear.
Well, yes. Of course, there aren't all that many goblins around here. It's mostly orcs and uruks.
Yeah, so
same
you kind
concept.
of got deprived there a little bit. I think you should go talk to Turbine about that one.
But I've been killing enough orcs with my spear to make up for it.
Okay. And then I said the death of Boromir, and I think that still is probably one of my favorite moments. I just really like that part of the story for sure. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our grade of Rohan. Since this is a review, we will be doing the grade of Rohan. It will be a letter grade. And again, to remind you guys, F- is worse than anything LOTRO's ever had. A+ is better than anything LOTRO's ever had, and anything between is to your discretion. And when you give your letter grade, please give why you're giving it. So Rohan got a Metacritic of 88, which is pretty good, I think, overall, as a review score. And then also, when you're making your review choice, keep in mind the increased price compared to other expansions. I'm not trying to discourage you, I think we all agree Rohan's pretty good, but keep that in mind. And we'll start out with Pine Leaf.
I'll give it an A-. And the only reason why it's a minus is due to certain bugs and certain skirmishes.
Right.
It's nice, all the wonderful stuff they added, but it would be very even nicer if they could do it without breaking things that are already in the program. And what happened is they had to pull off Gondaman and Necromancer's Gate. Some of you might have seen my videos on that, so
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was a really... I still don't know why that bug happened, and they might not know either. So I think that's a really weird thing to happen. All right, on to Merrick.
I'm going to agree with the A-. Some of the bugs and performance things have kind of been a downer. I think overall it's fantastic. These new systems are, they're not only, they're literally game-changing, and they're excellent. I think some of their attitudes about the changes and the feedback have been a little sour. So that kind of factors into it too. I think when you implement something that's so widely game-changing, you need to be open to criticism. They expect us to be like, okay, you guys are going to have to get used to something new. I think that getting some pushback, and I'm obviously talking about the group open tapping. I think being able to take some criticism and some feedback from that is only fair. Other than that, they've done a superb job. They brought the music back. The art's fantastic. Everything looks great. It's pretty good. It's good flow. And I think that I hear 88, and I think it's kind of low. But some of the pricing I don't like. I don't like. I still think crafting kind of got the shaft, and that always disappoints me. And I'm gonna also say that Hypebold. Hypebold is the end game. People seem to be okay with it. and that's cool. I'm looking forward to it, but to me, it depends on how fast they get the clusters out. I'm not saying that they should have had clusters with release, but maybe something else along with it. I don't know. It's hard for me to give that judgment without being there, though.
And I think we'll find out more about that next week, those instance clusters. So we'll be looking forward to that. On to Bandris.
I'm gonna give it an A- as well. It's funny because I was thinking that before anyone said anything as well, but now I just feel like I'm following the trend.
Dang it, Pine Leaf! Why did you have to start off with that?
I'm not a raider. I'm not a craft grinder. I'm in the game to experience the world and experience it visually and through my cosmetics and the story. The story has been absolutely superior. The world visuals have been glorious. The mounted combat has been better than I ever could have expected. But the pricing for the things that I want in the game feels a bit, I don't want to say abusive, but I do feel like I'm being taken advantage of. And the mounted combat, the rubber banding, it's just a little thing, and that's why I say A-. I mean, overall, there are going to be flaws, there are going to be mistakes, and I understand that, and that's fine. To be honest, I couldn't imagine a better expansion, but I still give it an A- because there's always room for improvement that I don't see.
All right, and Warsteeds.
I'm gonna be the trend breaker here. I think. Yeah. Based on what my expectations for Rohan were, I think I can pretty solidly give it a solid A. The only reason it's not an A+ for me is that pricing issue. I expected going into this that there was going to be some lag and technical issues. So, I'm not, it really doesn't bother me, but what does bother me is dropping, $70 on the top tier expansion because I like the fluff, and then finding out that I'm going to have to spend, another $20, $25 on top of that for more fluff to get what I had wanted out of it.
I wish I'd been smart enough to think to say that. That's so true.
Yeah, I'd have to give it a flat A as well. Not copying Sig here, but that's what I had in mind before. And I'd have to say the pricing again, especially the cosmetic colors that just really drove it down because Warsteed cosmetics could be a lot more fun than what they are. And I think that's real, and the skirmish bugs as well. Me and Pine Leaf had been running several skirmishes, and that did detract from it. On the actual Rohan, I have not had any bugs, except for just the normal rubber banding. I know some people have had a bunch of bugs, and I feel sorry for them, but I think overall it's an A for me. I think it was. I think it's a blast. I think it's better than most of the expansions, if not any of the expansions LOTRO's had. And yeah, it's an A, I think. So, do you guys have anything to close out with before we head off?
Nothing really.
No?
I mean, this is what I've been waiting for. I'm kind of a dwarf kind of character at heart. I love the lore behind him and everything, and Moria was a big deal for me, but I was really waiting for Rohan in mounted combat, and right now, I just really couldn't be happier.
All right. Well, I think we're done, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Everybody that's listening live in the chat, later on the YouTube channel, and on the site, and through the podcast. Thank you all for supporting CSTM the way you do with your kind words. And yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all later.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.